Welcome to the Woman Who Makes Things Happen show. My name is Agnes van Rhijn, and I'm a holistic business mentor to professional women who want to reach their full potential in life and in business without giving up who they are and what's important to them. I'm also the host and the founder of the Woman Who Makes Things Happen show, and today it's my privilege to be interviewing Susan Barber. Susan is an executive leadership coach with over 20 years as an information technology and leadership executive. She left her corporate career to become an executive coach with a focus on helping leaders and their teams reach their potential. She partners with business professionals to accelerate their results by building confidence and enhancing their authentic voice. Welcome to the Woman Who Makes Things Happen show, Susan. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a real pleasure, and I'm always delighted to meet people who are doing what I did when I started my own business, because I started off as an executive coach, and I'm so always very curious how it works for others, because on the long run, for me, it didn't work, but I think that has to do with the fact that I love working with entrepreneurs. So tell us more about you.
Okay. Well, I guess it's been a couple years now. I left my corporate job, as you mentioned, and there was a merger at my company, and I had the opportunity to go off on my own and start my own business. And so I had never done that before. I really didn't even know where to start, but I just started in on, what everybody does. I think when they build a business, you think you need to build a website, and you go out and you get business cards and you try to figure out what your name is going to be. And so I started that. But even while I was still working, I was going to coaching classes. I was getting hours towards coaching certification. Yeah. And I have completed, all of those things now, and my advanced coaching classes are done. So I really was just starting my plan B before I even needed to execute it. And I just was happy that I had that started. And then I also do some teaching.
Susan, if I may interrupt you at this level, because that's a very interesting point you're just mentioning, and you remind me of my own process when I went through it, is that quite often women have this dream of setting up their own business, but in reality they still have a job, which was my case, which is what you're referring to. And I'm very interested also in understanding how it worked for you in terms of having this full-time job that's already taking up so much of your time, but in parallel, start building your business, continue being trained, etc. How do you manage? I remember how I did it, but how do you manage finding that time?
Well, luckily, I am a late night person who can do without a whole lot of sleep. I'm trying to get better at that, but I really just took a lot of classes at night, and so they would be between 7 and 10 depending on the class. And then I would, on the nights I didn't have class, I was coaching people and getting skills in that space. So it was not as difficult, I guess, as maybe it seems. I do have 3 kids and a husband, and I'm trying to manage all of those things as well, but once they went to bed, it was really kind of my time to focus on coaching and starting to plan what I wanted to do. And like I said, I just executed it a little bit sooner than I was originally thinking I was going to. But it's been a really neat experience for me just to go through it.
Isn't it interesting how when you have only a certain number of hours in the day, but when you're passionate about something, you become so inventive, and where you would be tired, you're no longer tired, and
Right.
It's amazing, huh?
We
have resources that we don't imagine when we start doing things like that.
Yes, so I could work a lot of hours for sure now, and
yeah.
It doesn't even bother me at all.
Yeah, and I did the opposite process, because I'm definitely not a night person. So I was, of course, not taking the classes very early in the morning, but I was working very early in the morning so that I would have longer days. So I was getting up very early. I did the opposite than you did. and I did the coaching in the evenings, of course. So tell us how it then unfolded.
So once I left my job, I spent some time trying to figure out what I wanted my business to look like, what I wanted to call it. Spent a lot of time on that. I went back and forth with probably a list of 100 different names of what I could call it, and ended up naming it after myself. So it was the easiest one to go with. And after that, I just spent time just trying to figure out, how do I get clients? how do I create this website? And luckily I had a great person who I coached her and she built my website for me. So it was a great barter situation. And then I've just been expanding on that. So just starting a group coaching program at the end of the month with a friend of mine and trying to get that out and going. I'm writing an ebook now. So it's really grown very quickly and very fast, much faster than I guess I expected. I knew the first year was going to be building foundational stuff and trying to get everything ready to go. And I started creating a blog at the end of last year every day. And that's really helped a lot too, just for me to find my own voice. Yeah. For me to try to connect with other people, and hopefully my story and what I have gone through is what I'm finding a lot of people have also been through as well.
It's very interesting what you mentioned about finding your authentic voice, and apparently from what I'm hearing you seem to be you found yours pretty quickly, but the natural tendency that people have, I see it with my clients, I've done it myself as well, is to look at what others are doing and tend, even if it's at an unconscious level, tend to copy what others are doing. And that is just not working. You have to find your own voice. So that's something you found pretty quickly, I understand?
Well, I had started doing a lot of things. I mean, when I was managing my own teams and trying to figure out how to be a great coach for them and a leader for them, I think that helped me find my voice at that point. Cool. But I had never really written a blog at all. So that was kind of scary to start putting stuff out into the internet, into the social media world, and being comfortable with that. And I think there is a lot of vulnerability that you have to be okay with. Yeah. And I'm pretty comfortable sharing my story with anybody who asks me, or, you know, in my blog, because I think that's how people can relate to, you know, things that have happened to them. They can see some of the things that have happened to you and how to learn from that. So it's been great.
So what did you find, if you look at the first years, and when I say years, it's even going back to the transition phase, what did you find most challenging?
You know, the thing I found most challenging is I had a corporate world where I had a lot of resources and I had a lot of structure and processes, and now it's just me. So that was a big change. The other thing is, I think it coming from more of a structured world where I had many meetings and I had a calendar every day that had multiple meetings on it at times. And now you go from that to having a calendar that you create with whatever you want to do on it. And so I think it's trying to really stay motivated and driving towards the vision that you have and really focusing on that every day, because there are days where you probably feel a little bit less motivated or something goes on with the kids or whatever, and I need to focus on that. And I think that's what's been really exciting about this, is the flexibility to choose what I want to do every day, but at the same time continuing to move down the path of where I want to go.
Yeah, it's a very good point. And I really see it so often, this whole difference between coming from a world where, oh, my printer is not working anymore, I just call IT and etc. But it's so there is the logistical part of things, or I don't know, I go to legal department for my contract on whatever. Now you have to create your own contracts with your clients, etc. But there is also the fact that there are people around you. And all of a sudden, you're on your own. How did you handle that?
Well, I think it's been interesting because I did have a big company name behind me. And so I walked into a room in any conversation and had the credibility of that organization behind me. And now it's like starting over a little bit and creating your own credibility with the things that you're doing that are different now. And so being able to share what I'm doing with even people who knew me when I worked there before. Here's what I'm doing now. Here's how you can reach me if there's something I can do to help you. I think it's just all about starting to share that new version of me and how I can help other people, you know, move towards their vision, whatever that may be. That may be moving out on their own, taking a different job, you know, moving to a different company or different industry. So I think it's a lot of that stuff has just been a very interesting journey so far, and being comfortable with getting more visibility. I think that was something that was probably one of my biggest struggles initially, is you hide behind the website, you hide behind all this stuff, But in order for other people to actually see you and be able to work with you, they have to actually talk to you.
Mm-hmm. And so, bouncing back on something else you said, how do you stay motivated?
I'm a pretty motivated person generally anyway.
No, but
So
given you mentioned that sometimes,
yeah.
well, we all have lows at some.
Oh yeah, you do. I think I just let it go. I try not to beat myself up that I haven't done something, and realize that this is part of the journey. It's some of it is you're going to have highs and lows, and you need to be able to work through those. And so, I pretty much just let it go a little bit and just give myself a break and realize that there's a reason. And then it's interesting, probably the next day I come back with even more motivation. So I don't know that I have a great answer as for me personally. That's what works is I don't worry about it. I let it go. And the next day I seem to bounce back pretty quickly.
It's interesting because it's a very important thing that you mention. And I told you I have a holistic approach. And one of the things that I teach my clients to do is to put themselves back at the center of their life, and therefore authorize themselves the self-care, the I'm entitled to have me time, and and when I need it, and then I perform better afterwards. So it's very good that you have that yourself as an attitude, and that you know how to use those resources so that next day you can go further again.
Right.
So, seen from your end, what would you give as your top 3 tips for someone who wants to set up their own business and or whatever dream they have to realize it? What would you say are the most important things to do?
Well, the first thing, and something that I went through probably 3 or 4 years before I even started down this path, was really figuring out what my strengths were, what I was good at, what I thought I wanted to do, and really marrying that up to what type of a career or a role could I get where it allowed me to do those things, and spending that time reflecting on that. And one of the other pieces that I think was helpful is listening to what other people say that you're good at.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are things that it's a reflection back to you about the things that other people's perception is of you, or what they see that your strengths are. So listening to those things were things that I started to really focus on. And that's what helped me decide to become a coach. And, but as far as other things as starting a business, it's really about starting to get yourself visibility, getting out there, doing things. You don't necessarily need a website. You don't need a business
very
card.
true. We all think that we need one, but
we do. I don't know why, but it just seems logical. And I would say that, going back, I would probably start focusing on just working on getting my ideal clients, making sure they knew who I was, and getting some visibility. So that would be, I think, the second thing. And then the third thing is just really create some visions about where you want to go and how can you get there. And don't feel like you have to be there tomorrow. It takes time. It's a journey. Ask for help from other people. That was something I wasn't always good at, and have definitely learned that over the last 10 years that, nobody can do it by themselves.
No.
Nobody has to be the only person doing it. So there's a lot of smart people who've already done it. Learn from them and ask for advice, and try to just get help when you need it. I think that's been a really big learning as well.
So that's not 3 tips, that's 4 tips. Thank you.
So I'll give you a bonus.
so coming back to what you just said about your ideal clients, because that's another one that's extremely interesting. How did you find out who your ideal client was?
Well, I was already coaching somebody who I just really connected with and have seen her grow over time. And as I thought about who else would I want to coach, I just kept, picking up her picture in my mind. And so I think for me, it's someone who's very much like where I was in my corporate job. It's someone who's mid to senior management, who is maybe just starting to manage a team or lead a big project, who has maybe already had some experience leading, but hasn't done all of the things that they would like to be able to do. And so I think it's just helping them build that confidence in themselves that they can do this. And then managing through all of the different types of situations that you have when you manage people. There are so many things that have happened over my career that At the time, I was struggling of how to deal with this, and I had great mentors and people who helped me learn the best way to deal with that. Is, of course, is learning as you go through it is a big learning all on its own. But I think once I've gone through that, I just want to help other people not have to struggle and to be able to learn from some of the things I went through or from some other people that I know, and just helping them, move ahead faster is really the goal.
So these are the type of people you're working with today?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so what type of services do you offer? What are so you mentioned finding their voice, you mentioned the gaining in confidence. What do people gain from working with you?
So I really focus on assessing where they are today and what strengths they have, what their vision is, what their values are, spending time really helping to get them to know themselves, because I don't know that we always have done a really great job of doing that.
Very good point. Very
So
good point.
I think you build that foundation first, and then stepping into where do they want to go. And that may be, as I mentioned, some experiences of getting a new career or moving to a new role or changing, something else in their personal life. And once we know that goal, then it's taking that information and trying to say, what's the best way for us to get there, and really building action plans and going through coaching conversations to get there. And there's, maybe people I can connect them with. There may be opportunities for them to network differently. There's all different types of things that I think we can bring to the conversation that really helps them grow and start to develop. But a lot of the things that I think people don't realize is that it's reflecting on your own information, the things that you know about yourself, the things that are blind spots that you don't know about yourself, and really starting to grow and learn from those things so that you can really come out of the coaching conversations with a whole new focus, new motivation about where you want to go. And I think it just gives you a lot of energy and helps you get to reach your goal, whatever that may be.
Yeah, I can hear. So obviously I've chosen meanwhile to work with entrepreneurs, but I really have the same approach. It first is clarifying who you are, what's important to you, and then clearing what stands in the way. And then, well, I have a few other steps, but then you are reassessing, in my case, your business, or creating it if it's the first time. But only then do you do that, because the rest is foundational. In fact, it's really important. So how long on average are people working with you?
I usually have people between 3 and 6 months. So it just depends on, the type of situation that they have and what they want to work on. The first person I mentioned, that's my ideal client. We've been working together probably going on almost 18 months now. So, it's really been fun to watch her go from where she started with me to where she is now. She's changed companies. She's moving up the ladder. She's just really learned a lot about herself, even moved to a new state. So she's changed her whole life, and it's been a lot of fun to watch her go through that experience.
It's interesting to always see how people come the first time to coaching or mentoring from the angle of a challenge they're facing, but once they understand the power of it, they come back to it to build. Yeah. It's really a complete different approach, and that's fascinating. I love to see people evolve like that. It's really amazing.
It is.
So I'm getting conscious of time. Tell us, Susan, where people can find you.
So you can go to my website. It's susanmbarber.com. I also have a Facebook group if anybody in your audience would be interested in joining. It's for leaders to come together, build community, share ideas, ask for advice. So that is called Creating Leadership Connections, and you can just look it up with creatingleadershipconnections.com. And I'm also on Twitter at Susan M. Barber.
Excellent. And so we are at the beginning of a new year. What are your goals for this year?
There's always a lot of goals that I have. So, like I said, I'm launching a group program and next week. It's actually starting on Monday, and that's going to be a lot of fun. That's a 6-week program that I am doing with a friend of mine, and just really bringing women together to start to look at their vision, where they want to go this year. What are they going to do differently than maybe they've done in past years? So we called that program Revision. And then we have another program coming out in April after that. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm writing an ebook right now, which has been an interesting process, very exciting to do. And then I just want to continue to look at other options. Maybe having my own podcast someday has been one of the things I've had in the back of my mind. So your inspiration of what you've done here has been great. And I just try to learn from other people and really what they learned and how they went through the process. So it's been really neat to meet a lot of different podcast hosts and their experience.
Just bouncing back again on one thing that you said, I love the word revision, the name revision that you use, because if I listen to you, that's what you did to yourself. In fact, that's exactly what you implemented for yourself. It's a revision.
Yes, it
completely.
is.
So
My new year.
very, very good label for yourself, and for I can imagine that group will work. The program will work extremely well. You know what you're talking about.
Yeah, we're very excited.
So Susan, thank you so much for your time. It's really been a pleasure to have you, and for the viewers and the listeners, given there is an audio version of this interview series, if you too want to go after your dreams and or reinvent yourself, reach your full potential in life and in business, you can go to my website and book a complimentary discovery consultation. And my website is agnesvanrijn.com. So the usual 3 W's and then ANYESVANRHIJN.com. See you in the next interview. Goodbye.